UFC Fight Night takes place this Saturday, March 22nd, from the O2 Arena in London. The main event is going to be Leon Rocky Edwards taking on Sean Brady. We're going to have 13 fights on this card. Prelims start at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're on the East Coast like I am. I am your host, Cesar Leo, and I'm going to give you my predictions for each fight on this card. Let's go. The first fight on the prelims is going to be Garam Kudalase taking on Kai Fernandez, the Georgian Viking. I think he is going to be the heavy favorite on this one, and yes, he is. I think this is going to be an easy pick. I'm going with Kudalase in the first fight. Moving on to the next match on the prelims, it's going to be Cowlin Loughran taking on Nathan Fletcher in this bantamweight bout. I would assume everyone's going Fletcher already, but I think this fight looks interesting to me because Cowlin, we know, has that tight boxing style. And look at the size of that noggin on his head. I mean, you are not knocking this guy out, Fletcher. Submission, decision. I think your path to victory, Fletcher is going to have to try to take this fight to the ground. Loughran's got nice hands, and obviously he can take a punch, but I'm going to go with Fletcher on this one. Hopefully he gets the job done. Moving on to the third fight on the night, it's going to be Sean Bannon versus Pooja Mama B taking on the Cyclone. First of all, your name should be Duck Lips. I mean, seriously. I remember both of these girls. Pooja, the last time we seen her, was gifted a victory since the UFC is trying to push this narrative of wanting Indian fighters. And Shauna, yeah, you haven't looked that great. I mean, this is like the battle of the female cans right here. I'm going with the Irish can. I'm going with the Duck Lips. Moving on to Andre Puliev versus Christian Leroy Duncan. CLD has got to be the favorite on the night. I would be surprised. Whoa, look at that. Yeah, he is the heavy favorite. I looked a little bit into Puliev yesterday. I was noticing he seems to favor a stand-up style, but I think if he's going to have any chance against CLD, he's going to have to utilize some kind of wrestling that I know he must possess, being from Russia. But I don't think he's going to be able to do anything. I think Duncan's going to get a knockout in this fight, and we're going to see what happens. Moving on to the big boys, Marcin Tybura taking on Mick Parkin. Mick Parkin has a 10-0 record, yet to taste defeat in the octagon. Marcin Tybura, we know, is a veteran, and we know he has faced some really stiff competition in his career. This comes down to, are they pushing Mick Parkin too fast? I'm leaning Marcin Tybura. But Marcin Tybura is the veteran, and I think he is crafty enough to hand Mick Parkin his first loss. But these are the big boys. You know what's up. Anything can happen. One punch changes everything. We move on to Loner Kavanaugh taking on Felipe Dos Santos, and I think this is an interesting matchup because I believe this is going to be Kavanaugh's first real test in the octagon. Felipe Dos Santos coming off a loss, but look, it's to Andre Lima, and then he had a loss to Manel Kape. I mean, if you remember that fight, Dos Santos was looking sharp. So yeah, I know Loner Kavanaugh has some fast hands, but believe me, Felipe Dos Santos could cause problems coming out of the shootbox camp, training with Charles. Look at Tapology, overwhelmingly going with Kavanaugh. I'm picking my first dog pick on the night. I think Dos Santos is going to surprise a lot of people. I could be wrong, but I do feel like this fight is either going to go to decision or we may even see a submission from Dos Santos. Something's telling me I might want to work a parlay with that in it. We move into Jai Herbert taking on Chris Padilla. Taco taking on the Black Country Banger. The hell kind of nickname is that? Anyway, the tail of the tape. The last time we saw Jai Herbert was a win against Rolando Bedoya, unanimous decision 7 months ago, and Chris Padilla has just been on a tear every single time I've seen this guy in the past 2 years. I am definitely picking the dog Chris Padilla. I can't believe he's actually a dog here. This fight should probably just be even at this point. We move on to the main card. Nathaniel Wood taking on Morgan Charrier. Wood gonna have the home field advantage. Both fighters' records in the past 5 fights look exactly similar. I'm usually weary about backing the French. But you know what? I'm going Charrier in this first match on the main card. The next fight's going to be Jordan Vucenic taking on Chris Duncan. The Epidemic taking on the Problem, Chris Duncan. And this fight, I think, is going to look competitive. Last time we saw Vucenic, it was a loss to Kutaladze, who is fighting first on the card on Saturday. And the last time we saw Duncan, it was that submission. He got the guillotine choke over Balaji Oki. The majority of Tapology going Vucenic. I think I am leaning that way as well. Vucenic is going to be my prediction, although I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the other way. We move on to the second and final ladies match on the night. The Meatball, Molly McCann, taking on the newcomer, Alexia Thainara. And I think I just got this rule. Anytime I see anyone coming off the Contender Series, I'm just going to go with the veteran. And in this case, I'm going with the can. Molly McCann. She's got the name embedded into her name, and I can't believe I'm actually going to pick Molly. But she does have her moments in front of her London crowd, and I can see her getting all excited after she bum rushes Bergesina. I can't believe I'm going Molly McCann, but I am actually going Molly McCann. We move on to Kevin Holland taking on Gunnar Nelson. Kevin Holland, I mean, you look at those last 5 fights and you see 4 L's, but you do have to realize this was against high quality opponents. I mean, Gunnar Nelson is on a 2-fight win streak. The last time we saw him was an armbar submission win over Brian Barberina. I am actually being torn because Kevin Holland is just so unpredictable. The thing that I'm the thing that I'm really thinking about is the fact that this fight is gonna be at 170. And Kevin Holland has always been a beast at 170. So this might be the one reason why I go with Mr. 4570 over here over Gunny. Every time I see Holland, it seems like lately I say never again. After that interview where he was just talking about he doesn't care if he wins or loses, it's mostly about a paycheck for him. I gotta go with Gunnar Nelson just on that based alone. And of course, this would probably be the time Holland, gets a win, just to be complete asshole. Anyway, moving on to the co-main event, Jan Blachowicz taking on Carlos Ulberg. Blachowicz, the last time we seen him was a year and 7 months ago. That split decision against Poatan and Carlos Ulberg. I mean, he's just beaten everybody the UFC's put in front of him so far. This fight would have took place maybe, I'd say 3 years ago. I'd probably go with Jan. But I think Carlos Ulberg is going to get the job done. We don't know what a 42-year-old Jan Blachowicz looks like, but we are going to find out. And into the main event, Leon Rocky Edwards taking on Sean Brady. I think we know these guys' styles. We know what Leon's gonna try to do. He's gonna try to kick Sean in the groin. He's gonna try to poke his eyes out. You know that's what Leon's gonna bring to the table, and Sean is gonna be wrestle heavy. He's gonna be using his grappling all night. We saw him go 5 rounds with Gilbert Burns for that unanimous decision. Obviously, the key for Sean is to fight the same way Bilal fought Leon. Just be relentless with the pressure. Get in his face. Don't let him extend his legs. Just be right in front of him. Make this fight dirty. Get him up against the cage. Take him down. I'm going with Sean Brady to get the win and to send the British home crowd unhappy. They're going to be unhappy watching Leon lose. But those are my predictions. Let me bring up all of my predictions on the screen right now. These are the 13 predictions I am going with for this Saturday, March 22nd. I will come at you on Friday with my bets. I'll try to get them in early Friday morning. Gives me time to look at all the prop lines that are going to come out on Wednesday and Thursday. And hopefully I can make some bets that pay off on this card. I'll see you next time.